All right. Bring the workshop to order again. Second.
Aye. Yeah,
All in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Subject is Whittier Covered Bridge, which has been a continuing subject for a long, long time now.
Our main concern was the schedule.
I'll get you the same thing anyway, so I think that's fine.
First of all, I'm gonna start by saying that I'm not pissed off with you. I'm completely frustrated with the state, how long, and the delays, and the 5 months to get a change order. I mean, I don't have to recap for you all of what's going on. To say that we were disappointed the bridge wasn't going back in 2016 is an understatement. But that, again, is not Hoyland Tanner's fault, and we understand that. My concern when we get into this proposed schedule is I'm not convinced if this schedule, which the state has never lived up to a schedule yet, but if this schedule were maintained, I'm not convinced it can go back across the river in 2017. Which scares the hell out of me. We promised the townspeople, and this isn't a new project. We've been working this sucker for 10 years. I mean, how long ago did we take the bridge off the river?
Just about 9 years ago, 10.
This is crazy.
When I started there, I believe,
It's crazy. I want
So,
to hit somebody with it.
looking through the schedule,
Thank you, Brad.
the only portion of this
Oh, that's
schedule that
me.
we have any control over is you.
Understood.
So, and I'm not, I understand that you have a certain number of engineers, of course, that are assigned to this, that are, for how many hours that, I'm not afraid of paying more. If it means you have to put another engineer or a second engineer, or what I'm saying to you, the only portion of this we have any control over is your portion. We want to shrink that. And if that means that there's an additional cost with it, so be it. But if we don't shrink that, I'm seriously concerned we're not gonna see that bridge back across the road, back across that river in 2017. And that,
Has to be.
so that's why,
I think my concern is we've been talking across the river in 2016 now, ever since I've been here, and all of a sudden it pops up, it's not gonna happen. And I think I would have appreciated more of a, it's not gonna happen, then all of a sudden see a schedule that runs out into 2017 like this.
but I think it would have happened if it were not for the fact that the state
It
delayed.
Probably would have, but we were
so
still
much.
talking 2016, this early spring.
Right.
But the key here is, what do we gotta do to get this thing back across the river as soon as we can get it back across the river? Which to me means that the contract ought to go out for the abutments and that type of stuff real early spring, like in March, early April. Are we off base on that? Can that happen?
Well, let me just back up. So you're right about the schedule, and we don't need to go into all the delays. We did, our original scope and fee, we did submit in last November, and then resubmitted in December, and then on and on. So we're, not just because I want to be up front, we're actually a little behind on this schedule. We didn't get started when we thought we would get started on this schedule. So we can make that up. There isn't going to be any additional cost. We can put additional people on it. There is sort of a limit though. We have to do a study, and if I can't put 5 people on it because it doesn't gain you anything. It's kind of a linear thing that we're working on. We did make some attempts, and I knew, I sort of knew when I put this together that I was probably going to come here and talk to you about this. So I did look pretty hard at this and ways to cut it, and did try to trim it back as much as we can. These are not the answers you want to hear, but I just want to let you know we did look at it a little bit. And you're right, the main things that are sort of in our control are the time we had. We had 3 months for the study. That's somewhat in our control. We do have a sub-consultant to help us with some of the scour that's going around the abutments. Other than that, it's all us. We have the survey, we have everything else we need, so we can move ahead with that. But built into that are some of these public meetings. So we do have to schedule a public meeting for this project. Probably gonna, I would imagine, let me back up. So this project's a little non-typical. Typically, you have 2 public meetings. The first, you come out and say, hey, we have this project we want to do, and get input from the town, and then you come back with some alternatives. Here, the DOT lets count some previous meetings as that, so we just have 1 meeting, basically to update the town and get the town's input. I imagine the input is going to be, why aren't you done?
Oh, yeah.
Speed it up.
Yeah.
Why weren't you done last year? That's what they're gonna say.
Right, and we can certainly explain that, and we can explain what's planning to be going on. And then we have to go, I wrote it as CRC, I should have written it out, but there's a Cultural Resource Committee, we'll need to go to meet with them. They only meet once a month.
So that did not happen in July.
No,
Is it gonna happen in August?
no, we missed that, we're gonna be in September on that one.
Before you even go to the CRC meeting?
Right.
So when you said you're already behind schedule, you weren't kidding. You're already behind schedule.
Yeah, we weren't actually under contract on this date when we started it. And then the lead time, you need to submit, again, this is part of why these things take a while. To get on this committee, you have to submit a form, which we're working on. We'll have it in this week. They have 30 days to review that, and then they decide if they want you at the meeting. I'm assuming they're gonna want us at the meeting. So there's some time in there built in. And I'm trying not to make excuses, more as just try to explain some of the things. So I don't feel like there's much time we can make up in the study. In the design phases, yes, I think we can. I mean, ultimately, what we need to do in design is, prepare the drawings and the estimates and the plans. We have about 30 sheets. So again, we can put a couple people on those, but if you start putting too many, then things don't get coordinated between them. So I think there's certainly some room in those 2 phases to do that. And we end up awarding it in next July on this schedule. To try to move, let's see, we have, if we just assume, let's just say we need our 3 months to get caught up and do the study. We basically have 6 months to design. So if you're trying to cut 3 months, you're cutting design time in half, which is, we'll do our best, but that's pretty tough. I don't want to sit here and promise you, hey, I can go from, what I really think I need, so I can cut it in half.
Okay, but as far as it appears that you were behind on this schedule, and I understand that you weren't under contract yet. So then, if you can't make up a bunch of time, there is no way that this isn't going to go out to bid next year.
Yeah, right. And what I'm here to say is I do think we can make up the time. We can certainly commit to this schedule. The other part of this project that I think helps you is that I'm assuming we haven't made that, the town hasn't made that decision, but that you'd be pre-qualifying contractors. That's what we did when we moved the bridge off. So you would notify them well in advance. You would notify them in, maybe February that this project's coming, get their qualifications in, and then you would have certain firms that would be interested and available for it.
Are you all set to do that, Brad? Because I don't remember being involved in that process before.
I don't either. That was, that was actually done before I came on.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was done back when Bob was running it and stuff, before I was even hired here. And they awarded the contract to move it off the abutments there. That was done back in '05, I think, somewhere in that range, the contract award.
Yeah. And basically what it is that as far as covered bridges, the firms that would do it, there's probably, depends what you have for requirements. There's somewhere between 5 and 9 firms that do this work. So you set some minimum guidelines. You need someone that's done at least these projects with a certain value in a certain number of years. Someone like Stan Grayton would qualify. Arnold Grayton would qualify. There's some local, Tim Andrews may, depending on how you set the requirements. So I guess my point is, if and again, we hadn't got that far because we were just talking about it. We did it last time around. I think we pre-qualified. Don't hold me on the numbers, but it was either 5 or 6 and 3 bid the project.
Okay.
Can we use that same pool or even the data from that pre-qualification back then? Or did DOT make us go through that process again.
Being that long, I mean, now you're talking about somebody who may have an additional 10 years of bridge building experience
Right.
since then, so.
Well, it should be better than even they were back then, so
I would hope.
you'd hope, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's certainly up to the town. The town is gonna have the choice in that. DOT is not gonna make you, the DOT is not gonna make you pre-qualify.
Okay, I got you.
I think it's a good idea in this case because it's a covered bridge.
And that's set up to
Well, it would
happen.
also, correct me if I'm wrong, it would also speed up the process tremendously. Rather than throwing it out to public bid and having 40 companies bid,
You don't know who they are.
maybe only 3 of which are qualified. That's somewhat of a tedious process to winnow through those.
Yeah.
Whereas if you pre-qualify people who have recognized work on covered bridges, it seems as though that would speed up that whole bid process once it does go to bid.
I would think so.
It does, and so we can use a lot of the information. Really, in the last 10 years, the firms doing this work really haven't changed. There's one firm that did the Bartonsville Bridge.
Okay.
Other than that, it's pretty much the same group.
Oh.
So I guess my point is, you're absolutely right. The time of year to bid this is more like, probably March, April in there. We also, for any of the in-stream work, there's limitations on that, but you could do the approach work ahead. I think with the pre-qualification, I think that helps you out a little bit in that you'd have these firms, they'd know about it in advance. And there would be sufficient time to get the project completed.
And would we be able to, when you go out for a pre-qual and talk to these companies, would you be able to give them a reasonable start date? Or don't you do that at that point?
No, you would tell them, yeah. Yeah, you would give them, whatever date we had here. We'll keep updating the schedule as we go.
I mean, if you get them pre-qualified and you say to somebody, we want you to pre-qualify, I'm putting this bridge back across the river, whatever's got to be done, but we're looking for the job to start July 1st, for example, so that when you pre-qualify them and you go back and say, you're the guy I want to do it, he has it already worked into his schedule.
That's exactly what you do, yeah.
That would certainly help, because to go out and start qualifying people in, the way I originally read this schedule was, we wouldn't be looking at going out with it much before July, and that really, to me, puts you in get through the process of trying to pre-qualify or get the bids process and get the companies in line. They've already got their summer work schedule in place.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of risk in there, and I know most of the firms we deal with, if they'll do more traditional bridge work, or maybe they do building work in some cases. Most of them, given a choice between similar projects, would pick this, this type of project. So they're not all gonna hold open time, necessarily, but it does also somewhat, in some cases, we've had some luck with some of these projects that bid later in the year. It's not typical, but what is nice about it is someone that maybe is real busy at the beginning of the year and it kind of trails off. It's attractive for them to keep their guys busy through, later in the year.
What do you think the time frame is to rebuild the abutments and put the bridge back across? How much time does one need?
Probably 3 to 4 months. We haven't done an exact
So they'd have to
construction
start in
duration.
July.
Yeah. You'd be running some, there'd be things running in parallel. There's river work that needs to happen, be low flow in the middle of the summer, they do that first. Raising up the abutments while they're doing that, however they're gonna move the bridge, to be working on that. There'd be 2 different crews. The concrete crew. That's the other thing as far as the schedule. You'd have one crew working on the abutments while the other crew's in the bridge prepping it for the move. And then once you get the bridge moved, then you build up the approaches and then finish all that work.
How much higher are we picking that bridge up?
I think it's really determined, we're talking 1 to 2 feet, right?
Yeah, I think we settled in on 2.
2 feet, yeah.
Probably the higher the better.
And of course, that changes your approaches on the roads and everything. It makes you, you have to go back further and, bring them up to grade and everything. And,
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell in the flooding. The FEMA flood maps are out of date because they're based on, the bridge downstream DOT did in 2005. They're not based on that bridge, they're based on the previous smaller bridge. So what happens is with that smaller bridge, it backs up, you know, when there's a big enough flood event, it backs upstream and affects the Whittier Bridge.
We always knew the water was getting really deep. One of the graffiti underneath the bridge, it was still there. It was "Jesus loves me." And our joke always was, if Jesus was underwater, the water's high. That's what they used to call me on the radio and say Jesus is underwater. I knew how high the water was.
So we think it's still possible to put this back across at 17?
Yes.
We need it.
I'm thinking, that, you know, my thought is too, the whole project might not be completed in 17, but, you know, my thought is if we can get this done and get this out to bid in this schedule here, the bridge will probably back over and some of the approach work might be done, but by then you might be getting cold weather, you might not be able to get the paving done or something like that on the approach.
long as we get the bridge over.
But I think you can see a substantial amount of work with, including the
Even
bridge
if the
actually
paving
being
wasn't done, the
placed.
bridge would be back across and it would be open.
It would, yeah. And people would see it and it's like, yeah.
No,
Right.
people could
That's
drive
the big
across
thing.
it, even if it was
Yeah.
gravel to that point. I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah.
all right. I guess the only other thing that I would ask from you is if, as you're updating this schedule, if the state begins to drag their feet and not comply to the schedule, so to speak, will you make sure and keep us aware of that? Real sick Ed, one of our representatives, and I'm not above squeaking like hell. If I've learned one thing
He'll
in
squeak, too.
25 years, it's
Right, Ed?
if you want something out of state government, you have to squeak. It is important to us to just get back across. I'm disappointed it couldn't happen in 2016. I understand why it didn't, but it really needs to get back across in 2017. And if all of a sudden they start dragging their feet and we start looking at 2018, you know, they probably couldn't do much about it because we're so deep into it at this point, but it just becomes stupid. I've said many times, this is why people hate government. It's ridiculous. I mean, it shouldn't have taken 5 months to approve one change order. It doesn't make any sense.
So I guess along the lines of the schedule, one thing I was thinking I should do is send this schedule to DOT just to make sure they, not necessarily buy in with the dates, but buy in with the time frames I have in there. So I'll do that so that
Please.
they're.
Anything that you can do, just,
Make it
you
quicker.
know, you're our consultant, and what we're telling you is we want that bridge back across in 2017, and please, anything you can do to help that happen, do it, please.
Believe me, I do too. We had our kickoff meeting, and I started going on the dates, and I'm like, wow, that can't be right. It is. I've been working on it since, so yeah, I want to get
It needs to be done. We've got other stuff we'll put you to work on, but that bridge is gonna get done.
Yeah, you don't want your hair to be the color of mine by the time it's all done, so.
Look at me, wait a minute now, hey, hold off there now.
It's already better than
Brad's only 39. Look at him.
you guys are tough.
Oh, God.
So one other just question I had was, we have to have a public meeting for the project. There's a lot of ways you can do that. You
Stick
can,
around, we're having it tonight.
you have to advertise the meeting.
Why?
I don't know what work. I'm wide open, flexible. Whatever works better. If you want to do it,
I don't think it's gonna be enough attendance to bother doing a separate meeting, but if any Monday night, tonight we got a hearing after the regular selectmen's meeting, so we can do it any Monday night at, 5:30, 5 o'clock. And we'll just do it in conjunction with the selectmen's meeting and then go right into that, so. I think it would get the most exposure. Ed's already here. It gets videotaped and broadcast.
yeah, okay.
You think?
I agree.
Let me. And
Just
you're
coordinate
meeting
it with them.
every Monday now, or every?
Every Monday.
Other than holidays,
Yeah.
just coordinate it with Ellen. Brad will coordinate with Ellen.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Do
Yeah,
you take care of all the notices for the newspapers, or would that be something that we would have to do?
we typically ask you to do it.
Okay.
You know, whatever your, we can send some, I can send one to you. But it's usually easier if the town does it, just each town has what their threshold is for public notice is all different. And I don't know all the local places you may put it, so.
don't think, it doesn't need to be anything special, like a planning board type meeting, nothing registered, it just has to be posted like 3 days in advance, like your regular meetings here. And
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. It's certainly, there's only a couple of butters there anyway. It would certainly, I think it's a good idea and good practice to reach out to the abutters and let them
call or something.
because I'm sure they would like to know, and if they don't hear about the meeting and miss it, I mean, not everyone's paying attention
Yep,
to these
nope.
meeting notices.
Yep.
But other than that, no, there isn't any special.
Okay.
So yeah, I can check some dates and then get back to you and Alan on it.
You guys want to talk to him briefly about this 3G's request for payment there that he wants us to submit to DOT on our behalf and stuff. We talked about it at a couple of meetings and decided that we're going to hold off, maybe get a little input from you on it tonight or something like that. Did find copies of it up again. Believe it or not, in my move down back there, I was able to find it. We got two there, Bob, if you only have one here.
Oh, maybe, sorry.
This is basically his thing that we talked about. He pulled that loss of profit out from during that 5-month delay we were just talking about. He is sending down to DOT, they have it in front of them, but they won't act to do anything with it unless the town submits it.
And he wants to use, we offered 2,500, he wants to take that, not take the 2,500.
Yeah, that he would take, if we supported this instead, this would cost us about $2,800, our 20% share. So what he's doing, he's just flip-flopping that. He's giving up the 2,500, hoping he's gonna get us 14,000, that's what he's doing, so. But I think one of the keys is to whether we support it or not. And that was one of the issues we had back when we submitted this in the first place. And if it has to go down be submitted with our approval on it or not. That's kind of the issue that I see, at least that I'm having with it anyway.
And I don't have a problem with it. I think there again, this is one of the results of the state taking 5 months to approve. I think it was extremely unfair to 3G. I mean, it's right here, he submitted the request for change order number 2 on 11/19/14. They finally received written approval on 4/22/15, 154 days later.
Yep.
Deducting 30 days for typical and anticipated approval time leaves 124 days delay that basically shut the project down, and at the worst time of year for them to find and fill in new work. They were unable to secure new work for 90 days. For this, we are requesting compensation of $14,062. Again,
Just to add a couple things to this. We talked about this on site at a construction meeting. And I guess a couple things. We reviewed it. I don't disagree with what he's saying. I do disagree with the numbers. So
Okay.
numbers aside, I think it's less time, but it's still, it's enough time. The intent's still the same. You know, if it's not, I don't think it's 100 and, again, I don't think it's 154 days, but it's enough. It's enough days that I understand what he's trying to get at. He suggested at the meeting putting it into a change order along with some work. DOT, and I don't speak for DOT, but they are reluctant. They typically do not pay these sorts of claims. So we were concerned at the time, we had the best intent of the project, we were concerned with delaying the actual completion dates. We said, look, let's put the actual work we know they'll approve in there, and then you can submit this separately. We've kind of gone into this loop where unless the town submits it, DOT's not going to react to it. So DOT's read this, but it's not supported by the town officially, so they're not going to act on it. You know, what gets difficult is, you know, proving some of this stuff. You know, $225 per day of profit. Is that reasonable or not? I don't know. You know, we'd have to.
but the dates ought to be hard and fast as far as the date he submitted and finally got approval on 4/20, right? I mean, that's a hard and fast date on the change order, correct?
Yeah, I think it's the start date that's the issue, and Aaron has all those dates. Who came with me last time? So that's not a big issue. So if you wanted to move ahead with this, we could get the dates. We'd have to do an independent government estimate on it and think about how that, get some backup for that $225 per day profit. Typically, they would ask for some backup to that, which,
What's he trying to say in the last statement? If we are not granted this request, we reserve the right to adjust the amount of the request as we move forward with this. So that means if he doesn't get this, he's gonna add this into future charges?
And if they give me this, you could just talk litigation, I think. Would be my interpretation of that statement. And you might adjust it more, stop putting interest on it for time the money's been sitting there, kind of the way I read that.
I would agree. And the thing that's sort of changed on this, and if I misspeak, let me know, but at the meeting, Stan was upset. He had a right to be upset. And again, paraphrasing, what he was really looking for, he wanted DOT to be aware of this and that this caused him some financial issues. That's sort of what he says. I don't expect him to ever pay it. I just want them to know about it. He seems to have changed that tune a little, which is just purview, but again,
Yeah, but $14,000 isn't an inconsequential amount of money. I mean, maybe it isn't the overall cost of the project, but I guess what I'd be curious, I'd like to hear, have you come back to us maybe with what you think is the appropriate number of days if you think the 124 is inaccurate. But there again, is that up for us to debate with him? I mean, we've got the hard and fast dates of the change order when it was approved, or should we just submit this through and if they pay it, fine, if they don't, fine.
I guess the other thing that makes it difficult is the time of year. He mentions that they couldn't go after other work, which, okay, that's valid, but
Yeah.
a lot of contractors don't work that time of year anyway. They're not able to. So, I don't know, you could make that argument too. I do know he was working during this time. There was a covered bridge down in Bedford he moved. So it's not like the entire time. So that's what gets hard. We can certainly do whatever you like.
So he actually was working,
Yeah. So the entire time he has
so he
here,
didn't lose no profit in his business. He was working.
for a portion of that time, yeah. So, but then well, how many, of this period, how many days were you working there? I don't know. So it's.
You get messy.
Thank you, yeah.
But I guess my point is, do we need to even get involved in the mess? If we know those dates are accurate, as far as him taking that period of time to approve a change order, then I think this board could simply pass this on, and with our approval, pass it on to DOT. If they compensate him, fine. If they don't, it's nothing to do with us. We didn't cause the delay. It's nothing to do with us. Do we need to get involved in the mess? Why get into calculating and trying to figure out what days he's working elsewhere, et cetera? Is that even any of our business, to be honest with you? Why get too mired in it?
Right, why-
The state did take an awful long time to approve that change order. If he wants to submit the bill and it can only go through us, I'd say we forward it on to DOT and let them fight with it.
Things they did take a little bit of backup information you'd have to
But if we
provide to
do
do
pass
to
it on,
even
we're
submit it.
certifying that what he's saying is right.
We could, we have the days. We could certainly, verify those days when things. I think the only thing on the beginning was, yes, he submitted on that day, but it wasn't complete. We needed more information, and so there's probably, I think it's off by about a month.
I mean, I look at this, I don't mind if he's been jeopardized this amount of money, as long as the figures are all correct.
Right.
Because once we concur and move it on, we're saying the charges that he has
Everything's
listed
fine,
are correct and they were appropriately charged. And my question is, are they?
Yeah, I think that the two things we would need to do is we already have the dates, we can get that information and ask them to change, amend it if needed. And then the other one is some backup for the $225 a day.
But he's only asking for the profit now, he's not asking for his cost.
No,
That's the structure.
just what we would have made off that work. That's what he's shooting for.
Seems like a funny way to ask or something.
Well, that might be an acknowledgement that they were in fact working elsewhere. Because otherwise, to be honest with you, if it was me and I was the contractor, I'd been asking for the cost of my whole crew that was standing.
Well,
there
that's
at
where
that
I'm coming
moment.
from.
But maybe that's an acknowledgement that they were working elsewhere, and he's simply looking for the amount that he lost on that job and profit by not working it. I don't know.
Like a similar, it's sort of similar. A sort of similar situation comes up if you have to close a road and maybe there's a business on it, and that business, say it usually comes up with a bridge. Close the bridge, people can't get across. That business loses money. DOT definitely in that case does not reimburse. So it's and sometimes the towns will step in and do that. We had one town, they asked for backup. They said, okay, give us your last 3 years financial records. Let's see what what kind of money we're talking about. And they took care of it that way.
I don't mind sending it forward, I just want to know that what I send forward is accurate information.
So then let's have him confirm the dates,
Okay.
And-
ask for the backup to the 225, and then presuming we get that, then
We can
we'll
go
recommend
forward
we can move
I
forward.
don't mind going forward with it as long as I know it's accurate information.
We would have to prepare an IGE to do that, Sean, at that level.
Yeah.
That have to come from us, go through you, that got to come from Stan, right? Working with you guys, or
We
would it be
could
through
come up-
me?
The dates are easy. The only number in here at all is the 225.
Right.
That's the only thing you have to come up with. Have to think about how what's a reasonable profit for a contractor.
Unless you simply took the proposed total days of this project and divided, the profit margin off those and come up with the 225, that'd be a fairly easy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, a reasonable way to do it is you make, you do $1 million worth of work a year, you make 5% on it typically, and so you get, your 50,000.
Right.
I just don't want to be in the middle of submitting something that isn't accurate.
No, I understand.
And one of the points is if we have to go through the IGE process, that does take a little bit of time to do too and stuff, just
Well, the amount of time this has been so far, I can't see a little more time.
Yeah,
ready
right,
to
say,
go.
right, to make sure it's right.
just want to get it out there. that's all.
Make sure it's right before we forward it. That way we ain't gonna
That's my only
forward
concern. I don't
false
wanna get accused
information.
of concurring and submitting false information.
And one other just quick update, the other change order for Du Bois and King that we talked about in the past is we've made a couple of requests from Du Bois and King to get the backup information that the state's asked for. So we haven't received that yet. As soon as we do, we'll forward it.
It's on updating the drawings and
Yeah.
engineering work.
So because it's a federal project, it wasn't in the right format, so they need to.
So you're waiting on Du Bois and King to
On that,
provide
yeah.
you information? Are they giving you any indication they're going to, or are they kind of,
No, I think they will.
they will?
Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly think it's the summer. I think that's all the delay. But yeah, I would expect they would get the information to us.
Well, you know where we are, where we stand, and what we're trying to accomplish. I mean, that's the main thing. We want to get this behind us and open and done, but it's got to be done right. It can't be done half done either. It's got to be completely done and done the way it's supposed to be. But
Just wanna get it across there before it starts rotting again.
We'll say we're gonna have to rehab the rehab if they don't get it back up.
we got some taxpayers that saying it's already.
It's already rotten, yeah. I've seen a rotten board on it.
Okay. Everyone has an opinion, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and
Trust me, we hear them all.
Oh, yeah, we hear them all.
Mine lies here.
Yep.
I appreciate the tone here. I know it's, no one wants to be saying that this thing's going out next year, so we'll definitely do everything we can, all that we talked about to move the project along.
We just want you to know, that
Appreciate
means
it.
you have to bring on extra people, and there's a cost associated, bring it to us. You know what I mean, we just need to get it back across.
Yeah, no, understood.
Thank you, nice seeing you again.
Thank you, yeah.
Appreciate your help.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming up today.
All right,
Be in touch.
sounds good.
I'm gonna go attend the water sewer meeting over there right now, so
Okay,
we'll be back.
enjoy. Are we gonna,
Anything else to
I-
come before us?
I make a motion, we recess until 4:15?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We now at 4:15, I call the meeting to order. Please join us for the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, Bob Freeman. Here. Rick Morgan. Here. Frank Riley is here. We have the minutes from Selectmen's meeting on June 25th. Make a motion, we approve them.
Second.
Any discussion? No. All in favor? Aye. And I have the minutes from the Selectmen's workshop on July 25th. Excuse me, that was July. I think I said June. On July 25th, I make a motion, we approve them.
Second.
Any discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
I have the town payroll vouchers for the weekend in 7/27. Gross wages was $30,467.39. Payroll taxes was $9,450.47. Benefits, which was insurance payments and retirement payments, was $98,141.67 for a grand total of $138,659.53 under payroll. Accounts payable were $39,900.44. Weekly total for overall was $178,559.97. Make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
Any discussion? No. All in favor? Aye. Again, all the payroll that's on these vouchers that are paid, we've reviewed each bill individually and approved it so that they could be placed on this voucher. We do that each and every week. We have the Highway Department work log here. If anyone would like a copy of it, you're more than welcome to it. We'd make you a copy. I have a notice here of an intent to cut wood. Map 76, Lot 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, Knox Hill Estates. Total acreage is 58. Nicholas Warren, the owner. Richard Buswell will be the logger. Make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
Any comments? No. All those in favor? Aye. I have a letter here in support of a grant for the Carroll County Administration, or actually the Carroll County Dispatch Center. It's State of New Hampshire Homeland Security, James H. Hayes Building. Whom it may concern, this is the town of Ossipee is writing in support of the Carroll County grant proposal for the Homeland Security Grant Program through the New Hampshire Department of Safety. Town of Ossipee, located in Carroll County, is the county seat. Several state and county facilities, including the Carroll County Superior Court, Ossipee District Court, and the Carroll County Jail, are located in our jurisdiction. We support and strengthen the communication capabilities of the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. The town of Ossipee solely utilizes the Carroll County Dispatch Service to handle police, fire, and rescue calls, including mutual aid calls. The communication between these entities is of the utmost importance and to ensure the safety of our citizens. And we're just supporting this so that they can go forward with their grant and show support. Make a motion that we sign it.
Second.
Any discussion? No. All in favor? We have a request for an abatement. Map 122, Lot 12. Our assessor has reviewed it. The taxpayer timely filed for abatement in 2015 tax year. He is appealing his assessment because he believes his assessment is above market value. The taxpayer has not submitted an expert's opinion on the value of this property. Therefore, he recommends denying it. Make a motion, we deny this abatement.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
It is with sadness that I read the next letter, and joy. We were presented earlier today with a letter from our recreation director, Peter Waugh. It says, I submit to you on this date my resignation and retirement as recreation director for the town of Ossipee. This will take effect at the end of the regular business day on Friday, August the 26th, 2016. I have accepted a position of volunteer and communication coordinator at the Memorial Hospital, North Conway, New Hampshire. It has been an honor and a pleasure to serve as a recreation director for this community for the past 21 years. The support that all the boards, town departments, and public businesses, civics groups, non-public schools, school district, and the countless number of dedication of all of the volunteers have given me and the department over these years has been and remains second to none. I will forever be grateful for the experience and the opportunity to serve this great community. I wish Peter the best. He's done a great job here. He's at a point where he feels that a change is beneficial to him in the future, and I understand where he's coming from. And by all means, when you see him, if you see him, congratulate him for actually doing an outstanding job here in town. I think the children and the parents and the volunteers and everybody have actually had nothing but just a wonderful time, and any interface they had with Peter, and Peter's done a great job. He will be missed. I did ask him when he talked to us earlier today if this could be made public knowledge tonight, and he said yes. So I wanted to make sure that he knew we were going to read this. We will be in the process of advertising for his replacement in hopes that we can get somebody in here, maybe for at least a week while he's here, to turn to him. 21 years in one place is a tremendous amount of valuable information he has. He has been so much a fixture here in town that we'd like to get as much information from him for someone coming in to take his place as we possibly can. And we do wish him the very best of luck. He's excited about going to Memorial Hospital, and I certainly, anything that we can do to help him be successful up there, we certainly would do that. He's a great person. The other thing I have here is an application for reimbursement to towns and cities in which federal and state forest land is situated. Each year we apply to the state. We have some state forest here in town. They give us a little bit of a rebate, not as much as I was hoping for. I think Ellen said about $800, but it is $800 of revenue back because they are tax exempt land, right? Yes. So I make a motion that we sign this application. Any discussion?
Only I would point out, you got to total up the number of acres.
They make me add, huh?
Ballpark.
Around 2,100.
About 2,100 acres of land, and they give us $800.
That's all that's worth?
It's the Heath Bog, which is over on 25, is 371.6 acres. Little Pine River State Forest, I'm not just sure what they call that, 76 acres. Lord Pine State Forest, 12 acres. Ossipee Lake Natural Area, 418.5 acres. And the Pine River Forest, which is 1,117 acres. Motion, we sign it.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Hey, it could be nothing too, you know. I mean, hey, it's $800. Better than nothing. I guess is the way I look at it.
Well, I'm not saying it's not worth signing.
That completes the red folder. It's
Point
really,
out when they choose to come by another 500 acres.
That completes the items we had in the red folder this evening. Old business, Whittier Covered Bridge, we did meet with our engineer, Oil Tanner Associates. We've tried to see if there's any way we can move that back. As I think we've discussed in the last couple of weeks, that project has been pushed ahead. We wanted to cross the river in 2016. Obviously, it's not going to make that due to, unfortunately, when you work with the federal, the state, and all agencies in there, the federal money didn't come through till into April this year, which that always needed to trigger the state. The states needed to trigger the engineers, and we're really trying hard again to get it back across the river in 2017. And I hope that happens. All I can say is I hope it happens. The highway garage addition, as people can see it down back, is moving right along very well. Still scheduled to complete in August, which is what the original schedule was. I've been very pleased with the progress and what they've done down there. Brad is not with us at the moment this evening because we have Brad attending the water sewer commissioners meeting to gather as much information as we can, because as you know, we do take over the water sewer operation January 1st, and we are facing in the very near future. In fact, we have a budget meeting on Wednesday night, 8/3 at 7 p.m., and budgets are starting to come into play. So we need Brad to be in there with his ears and eyes and picking up what information we can, so we can be sure that the budget that we put together is accurate and correct for town meeting. So that's why he's not here this evening. New business, I have on the menu a Mr. George Bolton.
He did call me, just got off the phone. He's stuck in Tamworth. He'll call tomorrow for another scheduled appointment. I'm done.
Absent, thank you very much. Any other new business for you?
I do.
Rick?
The only thing I would say is that it's the second time that Mr. Bolton has been on the agenda and hasn't made it. I don't know how many more times you're gonna put him on the agenda, or he can come under public input. Just a point. If he shows up, he shows up.
I know.
Point of information, what was that regarding to?
It's regarding that he did not pay his taxes on time, and he got assessed about a $22 fine, or penalty, if you want to call it, whichever way you want to put it. He's already paid the penalty. Now he wants it refunded.
And he has cost us more than $22 over the last 3 months that we've been dealing with it.
And we do have good records that shows that we did try to find him. We sent certified, we sent first class mail. We had discussions. We can prove that he had time, and and this has been going on now since, holy moly, I can't remember when it started, but
March.
even to the point, I think I read a letter here not too long ago that I agreed to get into it as a second time and look at it, which I did do. We sent him a second letter explaining it all to him again, and he continues to come back and want to schedule a meeting with us, and he never makes it. So that's what it's about. Any other new business?
Did you want to announce today's employee of the year?
Oh, I forgot. Noontime today, we had Employee of the Year. We went to our Benefits Finance Director, Elaine Sherman. Done a wonderful job for us as we've tried to pass on to people. This year, audit for 2015 was one of the best audit years we've had in years here. It was noted by the auditors that whenever they asked her a question, she had the answer for them. She proved that she had good hard evidence to show whatever question they had or whatever they wanted. She's done a terrific job in the benefits world, a terrific job in the finance world. We've even got to the point where she's been helping us with tracking our finances, managing our cash flows, and she'll go ahead and give us stuff that shows us how much cash we need in the upcoming months so we can actually try to juggle the cash around. And as you know, last year we did not go to a tax anticipation note until in October. This year, I don't know if we'll make October, but
We still haven't borrowed yet?
we haven't borrowed yet, and we're trying to manage our cash and trying to buy as we have money to buy and not borrow any more than we absolutely have to. She's done a wonderful job for us.
The only thing I'd add on the auditors actually had scheduled 10 days for their field review here, and we were able to complete it in 4. So, it was a good thing. Saved us money.
Outstanding job, outstanding job.
Done a real good job for us. Anything else, Ellen?
No, I think that covers it.
That's it? With that, I'll open it to public input. Ed?
This is in regards to the boat ramp. It's taken about a week's worth of research. I still have some names to get on this letter, but Jeb Bradley is on the issue, and Joe Kenny is on the issue, your executive counselor. What I did find out is that this job has been contracted out. It's set to start. I don't see it being delayed in any way. It's good in the fact that they're going to get it done. But delaying this again, I was told it was delayed 4 times already for other reasons, schedule reasons and other reasons. So I don't think we're going to be able to delay it, actually.
I thought they were doing it themselves with their own construction bureau.
I was told that that bureau has contracted out. So
I think they
Well,
closed
see,
it
if they
today.
never presented the plan, we'd know that.
now there are other letters going out. I believe Jeff Bradley is putting a letter together, and there is contact between Fish and Game and the people involved in it. But need a little more time with this letter, but I don't
They're supposed
see
to
it
close
being
it today, if
delayed.
I'm not right. Right?
Hmm?
They're supposed to
Yes,
close
they
it
have.
today.
There was 2 boats in the water today,
Yeah.
and they still haven't finished the grading for the parking up there in this, at the drainage. There's no gravel down at all. Still got piles of dirt up there. There's no gravel around there.
It's my understanding that they have contracted with this contractor, who is the only contractor that they use to do the boat ramps statewide, and that's part of the problem, I think, with the time. Based on the research I've already done as well, relative to the Lake Host program. And so it's, looks like it's gonna drag on for a little longer.
Well, it's supposed to be on schedule.
Right, that's what they.
Yeah,
That's what they
this is
told
the
us
state
tomorrow.
we're talking about.
You funny guy.
But what's different this time is that people are communicating a little better. I think that's really the issue here, is that people aren't communicating. And I'm still trying to figure out how the process worked. Now, has any of those boat ramps ever been repaired by the state? Or is this the first one that you're aware of?
No, I've been here so
First one in Ossipee I'm aware of.
Freedom's was, they got concrete now, all the way down to the water.
But that's not a state ramp. That's just something the town of Freedom did.
Oh, this is, oh, okay, this is state owned?
This is state owned.
Yeah.
If it was town owned, we would have, we'd had it done in 2 weeks back in the
Well, I
spring.
thought the other one was state owned too.
No.
The reason
I
why,
don't sign there.
the reason why I bring that up is, obviously, somebody has to come up with a process of doing this. The next time it gets repaired, or if there, hopefully there will be a next time, there should be a process. So if an application is set up with DES to do the wetlands permit, and that application begins, then there has to be a process the town, the planning board, and DOT follow, so everybody knows, because this is hearsay. The hearsay is that the town should have known, because that application was put in 4 years ago. So what happened,
Who's gonna track it over 4 years?
that's why I'm saying there has to be some kind of a procedure so people are updated on it. So it's
How
a
about, how about
communication.
an opportunity for local input? I mean, I mean, DOT come in last week and had the hearings on stuff that they're gonna be doing in 2019. So there's an established state protocol on how they conduct their business so that people have a chance to, one, know what's going on, but most importantly, to have input. They didn't do that. You know, they can say all they want to about filing a wetlands permit 4 years ago, but they have never had a hearing, they've never invited public comment. And I quite frankly do not believe and never believe that Concord has cornered the market on everything that the town of Ossipee needs.
Well, when I lived in Tamworth, that's the circle up there, 25 and 16, they wanted to put a traffic circle in, and there was no public input, and then all of a sudden the state just said, no, we're not gonna do it, we're not gonna do it now. We don't have the money.
On the roundabout in West Ossipee, there were a whole bunch of public hearings here on that. Back when it was first proposed, it was very, very
Yeah, what I'm
controversial.
saying, it was 7 years ago.
No, I know, but my point is the state even then had hearings on all of that,
Yeah.
and an opportunity for people to have input.
Yeah, Rick, I think the difference is if you're dealing with Fish and Games versus DOT, and I think DOT has this established protocol that, like you said, is pretty well closely followed. I mean, they seem to you know, they have to plan long-term, but.
Which boggles my mind that
Exactly.
Fish and Game doesn't have such a.
Well, and I believe a lot of it has to do with the funding issues and all of that, but that may be a convenient.
That's very little solace about not having any
I
public
understand.
input.
Right.
Doesn't Dread own that? I believe they do. The boat ramp? I believe they do.
I think they own the property of which the boat ramp is on, but Fishing Game owns the ramp
Owns the
itself.
ramp.
Yeah, oh, right.
So obviously, the process isn't working, because you should have known, and everybody should have been contacted about it. And I think that's where the thrust of this has to go, because I really don't see this getting delayed at this time. So it's either a liaison or something. Something's got to be set up.
Do we have a home phone number for the director of Fish and Game that we can give out for all the people who are gonna be calling my house, and his house, and his house? So we can just forward that along?
I'm sure they have a home
Okay.
phone.
Thank you.
Did you get that first set?
Sure.
Do you happen to know offhand if they, when they actually physically shut down the ramp and start doing the in-water work, there's gonna be some kind of notification
It
for
was supposed to be today.
voters to find the alternative, because there is only really one alternative. And, you know, you'd think that it would behoove them to direct, you know, boat owners to be able to access the lake by way of that marina.
That's what I said weeks ago. There should have been a contact that they were going to do that, so everybody could adjust.
Right.
So the town could have adjusted to it. And I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know what the trigger point would be. Is the wetlands permit 4 years ago?
Right.
Or, I don't know why there's no communication between Fish and Game and the towns. I have no idea what process there is. But that should be the answer right there. There has to be.
No, probably because our lake isn't, Winnipesaukee.
Well, it's what, you said it was,
And we're actually north of Concord.
you said it was the fourth largest lake.
You wouldn't want it to be Winnipesaukee.
No, that's true.
They got so many restrictions now, it's ridiculous.
Well, here's the advice about the state of New Hampshire. You have to force it to act. So there has to be, you have to get on that phone and get into their office to make things happen. So, but you got to start some kind of a process to do this, so it doesn't happen again. And I'm wondering, there are other lakes, and there are other boat ramps that they're working on. How did they handle it?
I heard the same exact thing happened in Newfoundland, I don't know this for sure. I was told third party that the same exact issue that we had here, they had going on with Newfoundland, like same thing, no advance notice, no nothing, going in and closing down the ramp, and they were raising hell like we were because of the economic impact alone is crazy. I mean, so I don't think we're alone. I think that has been an issue elsewhere, and what those towns did with it or otherwise, I don't have any idea.
Well, that's why I'm trying to get all the players together, the executive counselor, the senator, and all the state reps in the area, so we're in the legislature. We create the rules that they're supposed to go by, so maybe this is legislation, maybe I still haven't determined if they have internal administrative rules on what they're supposed to do. Maybe there aren't any.
We got very spoiled in this area by a gentleman named Ray Burton. When Ray Burton was governor on the governor's council, he took care of the North Country, and that's the God's truth. A simple phone call to him, and this would have been stopped, flat out. He would have raised the roof for them to do something like this, north of Concord. And that's what needs to happen. They need to know they can't swoop into an area and make do something like that has such an economic impact without giving us an opportunity to lessen it. It's crazy.
So I'm still getting the signatures, I'm still trying to find out the details of it. And either legislation or administrative rule change. I mean, there's an administrative rule board, so maybe it could be a simple, you need to, the scheduling is difficult. You have, I believe you said there's only one contractor doing all the ramps.
I understand that they only select one, they don't even, it's not like an open bid situation, but there is only one contractor working on it, and I think there's either 2 or 3 going on right now, boat ramps. And that's part of the problem, they're spread thin, but again, I'm not 100% sure, that's hearsay from people I've spoken to so far.
And I wonder if these schedules are online or publicly available either. So everybody would know. See, there's simply,
But even if they are online, you shouldn't have to go search for them. They ought to be coming to you and saying, hey, here's what I'm gonna be doing. And these people today that love to live on computers and go spend their life looking for stuff, I don't think that should be the case.
Well,
Has any of the delegates, or have you asked any delegates or yourself to get hold of the governor?
It didn't give it all the way up to the governor. I don't see how that would help. I really don't.
Well, like I
But
say, if you got rules and regulations as to, and contract rules, you know, at least everywhere I've been, okay, you have a start and a stop date, and you get a bonus if you complete it ahead of time, and you get penalized like $3,000 a day for not completing it on time.
Well, it's important to go through the chain of command all the way up. And
That's
find-
what I'm saying, find out who handles the contracts and how it's spelled out.
Well, the governor's not gonna do that at this point.
Well,
So
no.
it's gonna have to go up through. That's why I contacted all the state reps, the senator, Joe Kenny, because that's the step, and the next, because he's transportation, and then fish and game, so there has to be a communication. Now, I think they should be invited here, and not to be adversarial, but they should be invited here, fish and game, to explain what could be done to make this better, because it seems like a simple fix to me. Is notification, an administrative rule, that's it. The entire structure of Fish and Game is an administrative rulemaking machine. They could add one more copy to the town that they're going to do work in. And why that happened, I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to make a comment. We quite often beat up the state, but 2 weeks ago, they were here and did a presentation on what they're gonna be doing on Route 16. They'll put the bridges and intersection of 2816, trying to lessen the turn to go on to 28. And I thought the state did an outstanding job.
Chair,
We're trying to diet.
I'm telling you.
But I think they did an outstanding job with their presentation. I don't know how many people here actually attended it, but I was here for a good part of the evening, and they really did a nice job, and I'd like to give them credit for that.
That was one of the better presentations I've seen from the state.
It was a good presentation. Any other public input?
I got here late, I was talking about Westbridge Shores or about the changes to the zoning, outdoor zoning ordinance.
That comes up at 5 o'clock.
Okay, then I have nothing.
Okay, thank you.
But if she wanted to comment about Westwood Shores.
Westwood Shores you could right now.
No, I don't.
The outdoor ordinance is scheduled for a 5
At
o'clock
5
public
okay.
meeting. Any other public input? If not, I'll make a motion to adjourn the selectmen's meeting
Until 5?
until 5.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
5 o'clock will be the public meeting.
Okay.